Welcome to the world of CMPRO. Hello. This video demonstrates an example of the change management process using CMPRO and the CM2 processes as taught by the Institute of Process Excellence. We will illustrate the CM2 process in CMPRO for configuration process management using a fictional story with a made-up company and product. While there are various methods to utilize CMPRO for configuration management, this example showcases a proven, audit-compliant approach. We will use the example of a discontinued purchase part on the drone system called HB Drone. The production group at Acme Drone Company is getting ready to build more Hummingbird drones to fulfill a new build order. As such, Acme Logistics must order a new drone parts. During the ordering process, the purchasing specialist discovers a glass lens part that Acme needs to complete its build order is no longer manufactured and therefore not available to purchase for the next production run. Now let's briefly overview the functionality list of CMPRO. CMPRO supports all aspects of the product lifecycle, with specific modules catering to the unique needs of heavily regulated industries. In this video, we will focus on demonstrating the change management functionality. Now let's delve into some more details. CMPRO includes 3 repositories directly linked to the change management modules. The drawing and model repository also features full parts listing functionality. The document repository offers hierarchical baseline functionality as well as the software version repository. All repositories can function as independent baselines and are linked to all repositories as well as the rest of the CMPRO functionality. Additionally, CMPRO is CAD agnostic. There are 4 types of baselines in CMPRO. Each one serves a particular function. The product baseline, top left, is a product structure based on parts list or part bombs. The system TDP baseline, bottom left, is used for creating and tracking technical data packages, also for exporting, and to perform configuration status accounting reporting. The document baseline allows for tracking a collection of documents in a hierarchical format and to perform configuration management on documents. The software baseline allows for tracking a collection of software versions and performing configuration management as required. It can also interface with software tools, such as Git. CMPRO supports easy user interaction with your product data using electronic forms in a web browser. Displayed are the 4 forms, plus the ECP, that we will cover in our demonstration that represents the functionality and methodologies taught by IPX. All electronic forms in CMPRO are powered by a robust process workflow engine, or we call it PWE, and where appropriate, prints in government or company-approved formats. CMPRO's PWE supports administrators of CMPRO to configure the workflow steps and business rules as it is defined by your organization's configuration process management policies. All CMPRO configurations are done inside of CMPRO and requires no IT or programmer support for any administration or user permissions or workflow routing setups. We are now displaying CMPRO in a browser. So let's go over a little more background on our user interface. CMPRO was created over 30 years ago and has went through several technology upgrades over that time. The current CMPRO web user interface was designed when the internet was new, over 16 or more years ago, and is currently going through a user interface update to be released next year. CMPRO only requires a browser to operate, either on a workstation or tablet, and there is no workstation software to install. CMPRO also operates with DoD-level cybersecurity configurations to ensure your data is secure. Now let's engage in our CM scenario. If you remember, the camera lens, part number 97153-05, is no longer available to purchase. So when purchasing specialist Susie receives the requisition to buy the lens to build the additional drones, she of course discovers that that part has been discontinued. So immediately she realizes she needs to create a problem report, fill out the information, and route it to the next person on the route so that it can be quickly processed. Now we pick a route that this problem report will follow. Routes we'll get into more here in a couple minutes. Then we select Create EPR, and then the problem report will display. Shows that it's currently in my queue, what the workflow status is, the step in the workflow, and the fields are all turned on so that I can finish editing and filling out the remaining fields. So we'll do that. Scroll down and see what else. We'll pick a tech reviewer and we'll save that information. At this point, we're now ready to move this problem report along in the workflow. And when I say the word workflow, that means on the route that was set up by the administrators on this site. And as an example, I'll open up and show you what the route looks like. You can see the EPR there, and in here you can see that I have a route that currently has 18 open problem reports, 1 released, 4 on track, 14 overdue. Each one of these squares represents a process, and each one of these are steps in the process where somebody or a team of people are going to do work. We're currently at the Tribot originator step, which will then go to tech review. So what we're going to do is workflow this, and inside the workflow actions you'll see that we have different options. We're going to select submit, and CMPRO goes out and looks at the next step, determines if it's going to the next step automatically, if the user has to select, whatever the case may be. I can then pick the person. In this case, I'm going to pick Michael Blue, who is the project manager for, and on a problem report, it's going to route to this person, but CMPRO has provided the list of only the people that are allowed to receive one based on the field entries I've made. And Susie is going to send a message forward. Is a hot one. And we're going to submit it forward on the workflow. So CMPRO saved the work, sent the message, and you notice the form changed, and now it's only view only to this user, who is Susie Brown. And it has been sent to Michael Blue, and he has been sent an email that's so that if he's not in CMPRO, he's still going to get notified. And here's the email that Michael received from Susie. Now we're going to take the viewpoint of Michael. Michael receives the email, and in his first spare moment, he logs into CMPRO, as you can see here. And as he didn't click the email, he just simply goes to his queue, sees the problem report in his queue, opens the problem report, reviews it, and realizes he's got a message to acknowledge and that the company has a problem because this part is not available. Okay, after reading it, Michael realizes he needs to immediately notify his engineer. So he goes down to the email, send email message. He finds Kevin's name. And just in case he's not at work, I'm attaching it as a PDF. And we're going to send email. And as in all correspondence and changes to CMPRO, even emails and other items are automatically logged in the comment log. So we're also going to make sure that anybody who looks at this knows that Kevin has been notified, so we'll do an annotation. Now anybody that looks at this problem report will see this annotation at the top. So select reassign, pick Kevin's name, and send it forward. Now we pick it up where Kevin receives an email and sees that he has a hot problem report. So he logs in, as you can see, Kevin Green here. So he immediately goes into one of his layouts, which are ways in CMPRO to save the screens that you like to use frequently and how they lay out on the screen. And you can have default searches and other features that make CMPRO much easier to use. And he has a series of search screens set up. And if we go to the breadcrumbs at the bottom and go to the problem report search, you'll see that he has a save search for all his open problem reports. He sees a problem report, he opens it in a new window, and after reading it, he realizes he does have a problem if it's true. So he sees a part number, so he captures that, and he wants to determine where's this thing used. So he goes to his where used, finds his part number, and also wants to see them in the next higher assemblies or the end item. And you can see here that yes, it is used. It's only used on one drawing. So it confirms that we do have it. So what he wants to do now is go to that drawing details and drill down to it. So he goes into the drawing detail. He can see information about the drawing, the sheets or model part files, whatever's there. He can see that it is linked to other items, and he wants to go look at the parts list. So in looking at the parts list, he scrolls down his list and does see that camera lens and sees that it's a quantity of 1. Well, we know we're going to build, I believe it was 100 drones, so we are short of this material. So he does recognize this is a problem. So what he's going to do now, first of all, is get this thing linked. So he realizes he needs to link this information and return to the problem report detail through our breadcrumb and go to the top of the title bar and link these two together. So I have to refresh, and you can see we now have a direct association to this drawing. So anybody looking at this will see the latest. And what we're going to do now is add another annotation. After research, Kevin determines that the only replacement he can find has a slightly different shape and will require an engineering change. So we scroll down to the problem verification and update. Kevin also realizes this is production level problem and needs to notify the production team. So he's going to send a CMPRO message, and he's going to do it by a previously user-defined group of the HB production notification team, and he's going to give them this link. So next up, Kevin knows he has to create a change request. So he goes in the options pane where there's an ECR create option. And like most things in CMPRO, he fills out a simple and reviews the route options available to his permissions. And you can see that there is Sarah Tribot, which is the route that they've classified to be used. And he creates the ECR. So now we have the ECR. It's on the initial step, and it has fields that just right out of the textbook of IPX, as you can see, plus a few extra that we've added over the years from different customer requirements, which can be, these different sections can be turned on and off. But first of all, what we're going to do also is review the routing process. So in this one, you remember with the problem report, it was just 2 blocks. This one actually has several processes, and it has the option to take a different path on these different processes. As you can see, we have an originator step, a technical review, then it can branch to a fast track low risk or to a CRB prep and decision. Each one of these has a series of steps. As you can see here, this one has CRB prep step and the actual CRB CCB, and then create ECN and then move forward. So what we're going to do now is start completing the change request so you can see the layout of the form and things like that. So the first thing Kevin does is review the different fields, making sure any of them that need to be filled in, one of them is category, per the instructions at the top. You can see that it's got instructions telling you what to do that's unique to each step. He's going to scroll through, see if there's other fields, and then we'll start determining the different values that need to be populated. One of them is, yes, we're going to have a documentation change, we're going to have a hardware change. It is going to impact, it is to fix, and proposed priority is going to be a 1, which is the highest because it is a production level. And scrolling through to see, he will be doing the tech review, and it is the highest priority he has right now. So we'll fill that out. And before we start marking baselines and whatnot, let's hit a save. And then talk about other features inside of CMPRO. Now we're going to start building our impact matrix and do some research. So the first thing we're going to do is highlight our part number. Go to the impact matrix, open a new window. Notice it's saying, let's find your part. And here we go. We have a part number. All looks good. We're going to hit save. So we've now added that part to our impact matrix, which we will also get to eventually documents and software if need be. We're going to go view this drawing. And this is a drawing detail screen. It's one of the 3 repositories. And a drawing repository, it also functions as a model repository. And you'll notice on the left-hand side there are several panes. In CMPRO, whenever you're in a detail screen, the theme stays the same throughout CMPRO, regardless of the modules you're using. First couple, 3 or 4 panes will be unique actions to that particular type of data that you're working with. The last 3 or 4 panes will be the common ones throughout CMPRO. The right-hand side in the large area will be the areas you can view the attributes, the data, work with it, edit it if you have permissions, things like that. And as this is a drawing repository, you can see we have the model, revision sequence indicator, details about the type of drawing, the current sheets or parts that are associated with it, and information to that, your drawing dates for your CM dates, your reference items, and these are linked items such as specifications, second level drawings, other documentation in CMPRO that may be part of this and linked to it from a data standpoint. And then you have all the additional details you can track about a drawing record. And for some folks, that's what contract it came in, categorizing it as a model drawing. Is it a configuration item? It's a very unique government DoD type marking. Does it have export and proprietary messages that need to be distributed every time you hit print on a report or export to a spreadsheet? And then below that, you'll see it says Impact Matrix, and this is letting you see what different impacts are being planned for this particular drawing or model. Then under Other, there's a very special field we need to go over, and that is called Proprietary Group. And basically, Proprietary Group is a way to mark a part for basically an inside firewall of CMPRO. Every important record gets assigned a proprietary group. Every user is a member of at least one proprietary group. And if a user does not have, in this example, the HP111 proprietary group listed, that user will never see this record, doesn't know it exists. So inside of CMPRO, you could have different organizations, different groups using CMPRO, maintaining drawings, parts list, documents, change request, but really have an internal firewall to keep people from seeing data they're not supposed to see. And it is secure up to the point of even supporting ITAR and EARS type data, if that is something that your business does. So, in looking at this, the first thing I want to do is drill down to the parts list. And as you can see, we're looking at the part that we have the problem with, that the change request is against. And we're going to go do a double check real quick and see if it's used anywhere else, which is nothing but a couple clicks, and we see that it's only in this drawing. So that's good. So we're going to go back to, and while reviewing this information, a couple things that we want to pay attention to. One is that there is an active part master, And inside of CMPRO, we have a part master library. Basically, it's where you can store all the extra stuff that needs to be tracked about a part. Details, including substitute part numbers that are valid substitutions for this, and then all the various costs that you may track. And in many of our customer sites, we will link to an ERP system or an MRP system or a procurement system so that these dates can be automatically populated. So anybody working inside of CMPRO that doesn't have access to procurement data doesn't need access for this type of data because it's going to be automatically populated. So we can see details about this, and then we can go back to our parts list, and at one point we noticed that it says associated docs. So I drill down to the associated docs and see that there is a purchase specification. So I continue on to a new window, and now we're viewing the document repository detail. As I mentioned earlier, a detail is a theme that's followed throughout CMPRO. You can see the left panes, the right panes, just like you saw before. Whereas we're looking at this document repository, one of the 3 repositories, taking the details, you notice that it is the number, the rev, the type, which is the purchase spec, details about it. I'll skip this for a second. I'll scroll down. You'll see that we have all these additional data elements we can track, including the export messages, security type, keyword searches, distribution statements, and then a couple unique things inside of CMPRO is, for example, is this a baseline document? We have customers who track both baselined documents and everything from memorandums to important docs to notes, whatnot, that may not be included in a baseline. And you see, as before, the impact matrix, and right now this is telling me that this document is not undergoing any kind of revision or review process. And if there are previous revision, in this case there's not, and the proprietary like we discussed before. So we have our 2 files that are linked to this purchase spec. We're going to go view the PDF real quick, and in that case it would download auto launch. And so now Kevin, while looking at this, realizes this document needs to be included as part of the change process. So he simply highlights the number. That's one way to do it. There's many ways. Goes back to his drawing repository, back to the ECR detail, and back to our impact matrix. And if you remember, we added the part earlier. Now we're going to add this document to the impact matrix and list it. Let's find it, list it, pick it, and add it. And now we have a document as part of our impact matrix. So to recap, we've looked at the parts list, we looked at the document. Now we want to see what else may be impacted by this. So if we go back to our drawing repository, we saw that there were several other drawings that may be impacted that are linked to this one. So we could individually go one by one and go review these and see if they need to be added to the impact matrix and add them. But there's another way that it's possible too. So if we go back to our ECR detail, over on the left hand side you'll see there's a link that says build from product baseline. And now we're going to navigate through one of our dashboards. So we're going to go to the navigator, pick a program, which is the HB drone systems, and it's going to now by default list our systems. I happen to know it's this is the system. On the right hand side of this dashboard we can see in work and finished and total for this particular product, which is the HB drone. And so as I open these up, you'll see that it's listing the different ways that changes can be happening. It's listing the different baselines. I can go see all the drawings, all the documents, and this is giving me a top-down view of all the data that is inside of CMPRO by functional purpose for what I'm trying to work with. So up here you can see I have 2 product baselines, 2 finished. I'm going to click that and it's showing me snapshot in time of 2 previous baselines. So I'm going to pick and say all, hit search, and now I've got my December one that is not published, but it is the current active one. I'm going to view the tree and quickly discuss product baselines. So I'm going to tell it to fully expand it, but as you can see here, it's showing me the Hummingbird drone system by product structure, which was previously built. They're very easy to build. In this case, what it's showing you is indenture code, starting with the first part number, just like they teach in IPX, and then you have the linked items. You have a document, you have legal documents, you have requirements, and then it takes and breaks down the assembly parts one by one. And whenever it breaks those down, it's going to show you the part number, information about it, the details, and over in these columns, it's showing you what ongoing changes there are. You can see the change request, one of them that we're working on. If we scroll down to where we found the lens that we're working with, camera lens down here, HP lens purchase specification, you can see that it has that in-work ECR that we were talking about. So as we look through this, brief description this of a product baseline. This was captured on 1 December. I can see who did it. I can go for the additional details and see when it was created, what rules were picked when it was created, what options were picked. I can see what platforms are impacted by this baseline. From a perspective of hardware, software, I can see what software baselines, if I'm tracking those, are compatible with this baseline. And I can also go in at a certain point, if I start having enterprise change notices, it links those in. And I can decide what I want to view when viewing a baseline. And when I say the word viewed, this baseline was created just recently in 4 December for this demo. But these are the different views on that rolling or snapshot type baseline that was set aside in this date. And so I can go in and see all the drawings. I could go in and see the software that's part of this baseline. I can go just see the part from a bill of materials or part BOM perspective. By quantities all calculated. I can see the documents, and I can see any ongoing change forms found in CMPRO linked to any of the documentation in this baseline. So I can see all previous change requests, DocCN, DCNs. These are ways to workflow, check out, review, edit, revise, and then release documents and drawings or models. So also at any time, for example, if I'm on the parts list tree view or on any of these other views, I can immediately export it if I wanted to. And so, all right, so now you can see that when that snapshot was captured, it was more than just the indent codes and such. It's including things such as the full quantities, the type of parts, what changes, are there make-buy flags, are there serialized, are there alternate parts, who are the vendors, a whole lot more details about this product baseline captured on 4 December. Okay, as part of the change request package that's being built, we're going to add a couple attachments, or at least one. So we'll start with, we've got a So what we've done is we've added a red line image to this, and it's now part of the package. And you notice we've got 3 associations running, which is from the impact matrix. And if need be, when we looked at that product baseline, we might have identified a piece of software that would need to be possibly reviewed and changed or be changed. So in CMPRO, we do have a software repository, and in this case, if you had software to impact, you would list it under the software tab as part of the impact matrix. Let's go look at the software repository. So I'm going to look for, this is one of our classic search screens. It gives you a lot of options to search. As you can see, it's a very intelligent search, makes it easy to find things. And I'm going to go and say I want to look for anything in the software repository related to the HP drone. And do a search, and we got several hits. And as you can see, here is, for example, iOS drone navigation app model 1. If we drill down to the details, you'll see, just like the other detail screens, panes on the left for functions to there. And as you scroll down, you'll see the common functions, just like the other ones. And on the right, you'll see fields dedicated to tracking software versions in the repository. You'll see it even in sports attaching files as a backup. There can be linkages to Git and other repositories and other bug tracking systems. And as part of this, you can see that it's got software dates, including a couple things that are usually extra for software that have to be tracked. Maintenance expirations, lifecycle end dates if you have accreditations and other things you have to worry about. And as you scroll down, you'll see it has some unique fields in the repository, plus the ones that are required in baseline and whatnot, like export controlled and stuff like that. And then also in CMPRO, there are ways to track licenses. And when I mean licenses, basically it is a way to purchase, track, issue, and close out license numbers to go with the software version. Also, as part of the repository, some people have to track what version software apply to what networks. In Impact Matrix, you probably got it figured out by now, and like the other repositories, all versions, previous versions are tracked. So we'll go back to CMPRO, and for this demo, we'll go ahead and pick one of the software versions and save that. So we have built an Impact Matrix with documentation, parts, drawings, and software. So now let's go record some cost. We can record either total cost. We could also enter a comment and say see attached spreadsheet, or we can create a detailed cost page which we'll use and enter prices. And this is based right out of the teachings of IPX. Cost for set after change material will be 32. And calculate. So we'll have roughly a delta of 9, and then go back to the main page. Now, if you were using the other parts of CMPRO, the functionality located in production, inventory tracking, and sustain, where you track as built and contracts. And here you can track multiple warehouses, build travelers, perform non-conformance tracking, RMA actions, shipping, receiving, track shortages on your work orders, and have build and buy work orders, requisitioning, and full inventory control of multiple warehouses with wireless barcoding. Or you can simply interface to other systems in CMPRO. Now it is time for workflow. And as I go to submit to the next step in our workflow, which looks like this, we're currently at technical review and want to send it forward. As you notice, there's a line through it with an I. And it says a checklist must be completed. So CMPRO has determined at the step that there is a checklist that must be completed. So we're going to go to the checklist, look at the checklist, review it, and say yes to all, save and return, and you'll notice submit is now available. I could have reassigned it to somebody else to work it if I need it, but I'm done. I've built the package and I'm ready for it to go forward to the next step in the process. One of the other things we need to cover is polling. So you'll notice at the top of the screen, I had it exited out earlier like this. So basically this is telling us that 0 of 1 responses has been responded on a poll. So let's have a look-see. So this is a poll summary detail, and basically it is a way to have teams review a step in the process, whatever that workflow form is. In this case, it also gives a summary of what's attached, what's associated, what's in the impact matrix, and you can see down here it has instructions that tell us when the responses are due by, emails have been gone out, and as you can see here, you can do additional emailing. Under the evaluation group, this is the users, and you can set up polls to basically have individuals, have teams, have one person, have all people. You can go set rules up in many different ways, that whether it goes forward or not. If somebody says no, what happens if somebody returns it to a previous step and it comes back to this poll again? You're going to have peer review type polls or official polls. For example, if you're in the aerospace industry and you have a poll required by your standard operating procedures and FAA regulations to have certain people review certain steps in a change for approval, you can dictate those in the setup screens for the polls. And then CMPRO will enforce those rules automatically. So in this example, I'm going to see who all the people are, and I'm going to go respond. So I set this, I go back to the ECR, and as you can see, 1 of 1 responses, and we're ready to send it forward on the workflow. When we hit submit, CMPRO looks forward to the next step, And it has determined, because there is a field value, and let me cancel out of this, there's a rule in CMPRO that says if the category is class 1, that it must take a certain flow. So from technical review, moving forward, when somebody submits that ECR, CMPRO looks at what the rules have been established for that step. And in this case, we know there's a rule that says if the category is class 1, it must follow this branch and go to this step. So that's what you saw on the workflow. You can see here it's telling us it's going from this step to this step. Now we'll pause here before we hit submit, and let me show you some behind the scenes admin settings that CMPRO admins set up. Okay, I switched to an admin account, hence the color change. You notice I'm a different user now. So what we're looking at now is the route admin page. And this is that same route layout you saw before, except this is from an administrator's position. So in reality, when you set up a route, you have names, descriptions, rules. You go in and decide what form types are allowed to use that flow, and then you can go in, define these different processes, define steps, you do your different rule settings and whatnot, and for each step you can go in and then describe the step instructions it's going to display, set the rules of what's required, what's not, give people points of contact. You can go in and define what users for what roles, for what permissions at that step. You can even have administrators at specific steps at that level if you need it. You can define auto decisions. In this case, this is the one I was talking about. If the CR category equal class 1, it goes to that step, else it goes to that step. You can have action items for project tracking. You can tell it when to put in a checklist. You can create special notifications, like if somebody puts the word safety or danger or warning, or if it's a particular type of product or system or version, you can have CMPRO send special messages. You can set up your polls, where in this case for the enterprise poll, you can set all these various rules. And if you interface in the other systems, you can even take and put in special behind the scenes SQL statements that under our paid support we help you do. You can go in and define special step permissions, so you can make fields required on a workflow step. You can make them updatable. You can turn them on, turn them off. You can force values if people enter certain values. So there's a lot of these different features that I'm not going to go to them all, where you as administrators, not IT type folks and not programmers, you as admins, and we help you every step of the way. We have lots of manuals that describe it. We tell you how the screens work. We give you worksheets. We give you examples. So you're always helped every step of the way through this workflow. Now we're going to resume our ECR progress by sending it forward to the next step, which is Configuration Manager for CRB Prep. We're going to submit it, and you'll notice all the fields have turned off. It's now in Michael Blue's work queue. So we're going to log out and go log in as Michael Blue. We have now logged in as Michael Blue, who is a CM manager. And as a CM manager, the first thing he does is look for what's in his queue, what has showed up. He, of course, got an email. So he opens the ECR and immediately does a quick scan and looks at what the problem is. Importantly, looks at the class, scrolls down, see what's all going on, and then checks and see if there are attachments and validate that there have been some cost details put in here of some kind, and they have. Then he validates that the impact matrix appears to be updated correctly and that they've marked everything correctly, and that if there's software involved. So after reviewing, he realizes, yes, this is ready to go to the CRB. And if you remember on the workflow, the routing looked kind of like this. We're at the technical review step, awaiting to go to the next step, which either is a fast track or a CRB prep, and then a chair review. So on the ECR, after reviewing it, he realized that he needs to go see what's the status of our board agendas. So let me pull one up and describe what a board agenda form is. So this is one of our standard search screens, and it has a default opening for all open forms. And I see that there is a CRB board agenda for December 24. So here we go. So this is the detail page for an enterprise board agenda, and basically this is a form designed to help do board meetings. They can be for change request packages, they could be change notices, they could be problem reports, they could be even just reviewing peer review of drawings, whatever the need is. The left side, as you used to see in the workflow actions and the normal additional data, additional options, printing, all that good stuff. And on the right hand side, you'll see there's fields here to where you can go up and describe the kind of meeting you'll have for the CRB or CCB, the details of the meeting, when they're supposed to start, any details, the attendee list of who is supposed to attend, which can be altered to or be part of a standard list, the agenda items, and as you can see here in this agenda item sections, I already have one change request for a tracking, and it's currently on hold. There's no repository items listed yet. So I'm going to use this board agenda as our next available. Standard operating procedure is a CM manager or such would go in and pre-create board agenda records, forms if you will, for the next 3 or 4 months worth of meetings. And then whenever a change request hits that workflow step, then they can go and look at what is the board agenda they want to meet. And so at this point, I could go back to that ECR, scroll down where there's a convenient link of adding this to a board agenda, and I'm going to pick the board agenda, and there it is. Add to board agenda, tells us success. So if I go back to the detail of that EBA and refresh it, I should have 2 ECRs, and I do. So as I said, this form is designed to plan the meeting, then record who attends, record what they voted, recording remarks. You can even have a poll to have people vote on the items, and then you record on what's decided. And in the ECR itself, if we go back to the ECR detail, if you want, you can even have a section displayed where you go in and you can have the fields turn on where you record the CCB, CRB results, what the recommended priorities are, what the decisions were, any exceptions. And then the chair signature through workflow would be automatically filled in where it says CMPRO would autofill. So that's just the ongoing process that you would have conducting board meetings for your change requests, problem reports, and change notices. So we're going to take the change request, because we are limited on time, and I'm going to go ahead and forward this a user to conduct a board meeting and record results. So I now have this forwarded. Now that I've hit the step where we could record the CCB results, instead of finishing that process, I'm going to jump ahead to creating a change notice. Now we're going to go through the process of creating a change notice from a change request, now that all the approvals have happened. So we're going to go into our options pane on our ECR. We're going to go down to ECN options, create. We're going to go through the create wizard, fill out the required fields, and pick our product that we're building. Pick the workflow route. We're going to pick the change notice or tribot. It's a shared route. Create the change notice, and bingo, it has copied everything over from the ECR. It's displaying our instructions, and we're going to go through this form real quick. Left side, you should be used to our theme now. You can see that it also pulled forward, the impact matrix, the usual workflow forms. You scroll down, all the usual fields, but it also pre-assembled the associations and the impact matrix. The reason it did that is now we're going to track them actually getting changed and putting somewhat of a schedule to it. So if you notice that we have fields that apply to doing change notices, we can even go in and select the baselines that are impacted if we want. So let's select our product baseline. And we know we have a title of HB, and we see our December 2024 associated return. So we have selected the applicable baseline, and now let's go in to work on scheduling dates. So you can see our impact matrix here. And so what we're going to do is propose a schedule where we want to start by the 31st. We'd like the submission and all the workflow rounds of all these changes to be done by the 31st of January, with a schedule release date of February 28th. Let's save that. Now what we're going to do is use a little feature inside of here to go in and say updated schedule dates. So what CMPRO has done is went out and said to the system, hey, this is the schedule we want to follow. We want these to be checked out by this date, submitted on a workflow route to start doing its peer reviews and all that stuff by this date, and be released by this date. Okay, for those that have been keeping up, if you remember very early on we talked about dashboards where we have several kinds. So we're going to revisit our program dashboard, one of the many, and select Hummingbird drone systems. Pick the product, which is HP drone units 1 through 50 model 1, and you'll see here as we drill in, you'll see that these numbers have actually grown with the number of changes that we have with, for example, you'll notice our change notice that we have currently 7. That's because we've been doing several demos. But basically in that list of 7 would be the one that we were just working on with the lens no longer available. Also, outputs of CMPRO through our various report modules and ad hoc modules. You can also have interfaces to things like Power BI. And here's a Power BI example of the current ECRs by system. You can see the percentage breakdown, and it is in the Power BI world, it is a smart breakdown, so the charts will update, provide intelligence. You can see all the different programs and products that I may be tracking inside of CMPRO that I have permission to see through the proprietary group, so I can drill up, drill down if need be. I can even go in to the raw data. Okay, now let's very briefly go over a couple other built-in features CMPRO as we are running out of time. But as an example, I'm back on our ECN, and if I scroll down, you'll see the list of items in the impact matrix, and I'm going to pick one of the documents. I'm going to show you an example of checking out and workflow in a document. So over here in the left, if I have permissions on workflow, I can hit revise. CMPRO is asking me what are the new revs, what route am I going to use, click revise. So CMPRO went out, copied everything in the repository. It's proposing a new rev. If I go look at that record, it is set aside an in-work copy, and anybody that goes and views it, if they have permission, it can see that it is currently undergoing revision through what we call a doxy and document change notice. You notice it has renumbered the file names, added the revs. It gives me areas to exclude files, to track all the reasons why I'm doing it. And since I have an ECN, it's also showing me the proposed schedule that I need to follow. So in reality, I'm going to just skip the process real quick, and I'm going to jump all the way to the end and release this. So if I now, you'll notice it now it says successful, there's a new rev. If I go in and do a search for CMPRO, use one of our Google Live search screens, and search for this number, I'm going to see the Rev A. But if I change it to show me everything, you'll see that the previous Rev is there also. So this in CMPRO is a closed loop process. And if I go back to my ECN and refresh it, you'll see that it's advising me of the ongoing change, the numbering, and what the current status is. So this is a closed loop process. Once all the artifacts have been created or updated and revised and released in the change notice, we can now either update or create a new baseline. So let's create a baseline to show you how straightforward this is. Go see our baseline. So this is the latest, greatest version of the Hummingbird drone per the changes to the drawings, parts list, documents, and software. Scroll down, you can see what we saw earlier, the complete product structure. And then we could proceed to run through an interface, even just output it to a spreadsheet if you wanted to. A brief note about reporting in CMPRO. If I have a need to report drawings for a particular system, I can come in very quickly and say, you know what? I have all these different options. I just want a drawing list of all the HB drones for a particular system. As a PDF, I could pick other options and say, build report. I could output it as a spreadsheet, as a CSV, and it's literally that fast to get reports out of CMPRO. I could have done it as a spreadsheet and have raw data. I have other ones that's built in it over the last 30 years. We figure out what people need to do their jobs, to report to program offices, to do configuration status accounting reports, stuff like that. This concludes our demo of CMPRO for now. You can see by this slide there are many other features and functionalities available in our tool. In closing, we showcase CMPRO's default functionality to demonstrate outstanding configuration management practices. This example highlights the excellence attainable through the CM2 methodology and seamlessly implemented in CMPRO. For a more comprehensive overview, you can schedule a detailed demonstration with PSA. This session would cover the extensive features available in CMPRO. And we at PSA thank you for your time today.